whether it be initiated by Israel, supported by us, is going to really set some stuff off. We are not going to be able to stop. We'll start it, and we'll support it. Keep in mind, this is an election time now, too. Saber rattling always happens around elections. You know, there's no voices of the leaders speaking out against this. Our president is in favor of it, rattling his saber around. The GOP dimwits up there, you know, they're just too busy arguing with each other and putting each other down, but certainly these folks are going to do the same kind of saber rattling. In regards to the nuclear, I'm just throwing out a few points here because everybody's covered a lot of this. In regards to the nuclear, I like what you said about, I wouldn't blame them. You know, I mean, people get talked to when they have those weapons, and that's unfortunate that the world is set up for this. I'm not promoting that they should, but they, in light of the way we have set up the world, they have every right to want to be in that situation. But, and I'm kind of paraphrasing Chris Hedges, people that have an address are not going to use a nuclear bomb. If you've got an address, you're not going to use a nuclear bomb in this world. Iran's got an address. They're not going to do it. That's not who we should be worried about in this case. We know where you live. I mean, anybody, you're just not going to do it unless you're the top dog. And who's the top dog?
Yes.
So what's holding us back? So just remember that when you hear about these threats. You had the opportunity to see people face to face. I've been to places too when you meet people one-on-one. People to people, it's a much different situation. Iran is a very modern country. Very much, in many ways, like in terms of development, like we witness around here, not what everybody imagines in terms of backwardness.
Whatever the government tells you, don't believe them. We had no protective clothing, no goggles to protect our eyes. I have yet to see one of those film badges that they talk about that was supposed to measure our exposure. And the government finds all kinds of excuses for not recognizing the injury that they did to us. Nuclear weapons are impossible, and everybody in this country should be working as hard as they can to see that nuclear weapons are abolished.
Yes.
Yes.
The United States could take the lead on it. We have more nuclear weapons than everybody else put together. So we could speak from a position of strength and say, okay, we have more than anybody else. We're in the driver's seat. Let's gradually get rid of all of them. But our government isn't doing that. You've heard about the treaty that was signed between Russia and the United States early in the Obama administration. Well, it's a trick. They decided they are going to get rid of a certain number of them, and they're going to refurbish certain other ones. They play a numbers game with this. So whatever anybody tells you, nuclear weapons should be abolished. That's my...
Which is, in part, this country's quest for imperialism, to control people throughout the world,
Yeah.
to not want to hear what people say in other lands, but want to say and do whatever they want to do. That is part of the problem. The other problem goes to what the young man said. Martin Luther King mentioned the demonic suction tool that money creates, that war creates. That war is the enemy of poor people
Yeah. That's
all
right.
over the world, not just here,
That's right.
but throughout the world. As long as we allow this government the people that we elect to represent us, as long as we let them not represent us, but represent those who profit from war, we will forever be coming up and saying, stop the invasion of Iran, or as it was a few years ago, Iraq. Because we will not have gone to the sole purpose of why we go and fight in other lands, which is not to liberate people. We go because of the national interest of this country, which means more than just keeping it safe from attacks. It means the dollar, the U.S. dollar. And when Alan was speaking and spoke of how some of the things that were happening during the time.
Shah was imposed on them, and that was part of the reason. Now, I'm not saying that you ought to have, hostage taking, but I am saying there are reasons why people react as they do, and we need to understand those reasons. We need to pay attention. And I think for us in this country, the one hopeful thing is I think finally our economic difficulties may stop us from being able to continually doubling our military budget. And we've got to talk about military spending. We've got to keep on telling our elected war that we want money for needs, we want money to be good citizens of the world and not for war. So I think it's really important. So I just want to say, if you get a chance to go to Iran, I have to say Iran's the last delegation was in May of this year, partly because some of the Iranian groups that
Interfering with this global development of the spring and the revolutions that are happening around the world to finally give people, the poor people, power to keep us out of the wars that Will talked about. These are just a few rambling thoughts that I just wanted to put out.